While there may never have been an official Half-Life 3, Episodes 1 and 2 serve as continuations of the Half-Life canon in much the same way a third game would have. With that in mind, I've decided to cover both of these in one, episode. I mentioned in the first part of my Half-Life Alyx playthrough, click that fucking card, you know you want to, that I probably wasn't going to do a what really happened for these games. The point of playing through the series in the first place was to refresh my own memory before Alyx came out. But, spoiler alert, the end of Alyx puts Episodes 1 and 2 in a very different context, so I figured it was worth it. Also, I'll be staying away from any Alyx spoilers from this point on, until the very end, so if you haven't played it yet, or if you want to watch my Let's Play with fresh eyes, you're in the clear. Now join me as we go over what really happened in Half-Life 2, Episodes 1 and 2. Oh, and while you're here, I plan on covering more games like this in the future. I'd really appreciate it if you'd throw a recommendation for a game you'd like to see me cover in the comments. Okay, back to the video. As seen at the end of Half-Life 2, immediately following the Dark Fusion Reactor's explosion, Gordon was placed into another stasis by the G-Man. Episode 1 expands on this scene, as Alyx Vance is taken away by some Vortigaunts. The G-Man approaches Freeman, but before he can reach him, more Vortigaunts surround Freeman, prompting an ominous comment from the G-Man.
We'll see about that.
Gordon wakes up moments later covered in debris as Alyx's robotic pet, Dog, uncovers him. Alyx and Gordon share a brief moment of happiness before getting right back into the action. Alyx contacts Kleiner and her father with a portable monitor to tell them that Gordon was safe. It's also implied here that Eli may have some knowledge of Gordon's G-Man-induced stasis, as he initially tells Alyx that our man in the HEV suit couldn't be found. They learn that the Citadel's core is about to rupture, and the ensuing explosion would level City-17. It's obvious to both our heroes what they have to do: re-enter the Citadel and try to stabilize the core long enough to get everyone out of the city. Once inside, our protagonists find a recording of a call between Breen and a Combine advisor. They continue to the Citadel's core after experiencing an advisor's painful psychic blasts. With a bit of fancy gravity gunning, Gordon re-engages the containment system and reunites with Alyx. In the meantime, she discovered that the Combine were trying to accelerate the Citadel's destruction in order to send off a transmission packet, which Alyx has conveniently copied for us. She's basically Valve's favorite MacGuffin generator. There's a bit more world building here, as the team also uncovers a message from Judith Mossman, our double or triple, maybe? Agent spy doctor from Half-Life 2. Looking back at this years later, you can see why the general audience was so miffed about missing out on an Episode 3. Valve really laid some serious groundwork for future Half-Life adventures in these two games, and I'm a bit embarrassed to admit that I still haven't given up hope.
Take me to the Borealis, Gaben, my body is ready!
Anyway, Alyx and Gordon eventually board a train and get the hell out of there, only to find that they've escaped alongside a shipment of stalkers. These terrified me back in high school. The train is unexpectedly derailed, and our protagonists have to fight their way through a series of head crab-infected parking garages and highway tunnels. Oh, and this happens.
Zombie.
Yep.
That's like a
zombie.
Yes. Right?
I love the cheesy dialogue in these games so much. It becomes pretty clear at this point that the Combine are already weakening, considering the number of Zombine you come across here. Exiting an underground train station, the team sees Kleiner giving a PSA on some broadcast screens. Yes, he is telling people to fuck. Which honestly makes a lot of sense. Not only because the suppression field is no longer active and people have urges, wink, but because the human population was decimated by the Combine and needs to recover quickly to stand a chance against future threats. Fighting their way through waves of baddies, Gordon and Alyx eventually meet up with Barney, who has a plan to take over another train station. People really like their rail systems in Valve games. Our protagonists draw the Combine forces away from Barney and the refugees through an abandoned hospital, eventually reuniting with their party at the train station. Once there, Gordon and Alyx help the refugees board the train, staying behind once again to lure the Combine away. After Gordon takes out a Strider, Alyx reprograms one of the engines, and the two set off, boarding the caboose, I guess so they can soak up the radiation as the Citadel explodes in the distance. Unfortunately, it's immediately clear that the Combine's message was sent. Their remaining Earthbound forces are seen scurrying away from the Citadel in every direction. After our leads feel more psychic blasts from advisor pods passing nearby, the Citadel finally gives way, with a shockwave that wrecks Gordon and Alex's train, leaving us with a pretty grim and open-ended Episode 1. Is it my favorite Half-Life entry? Probably not. But it expands on the world pretty thoroughly, revealing a lot about the Combine in the process, and there is even more of that world-building goodness in. It may be recency bias talking, but even though I'm not a huge fan of this episode's level design, or plot, or new enemy types, I think it's the most fun to actually play out of the entire series. It begins just after Episode 1's abrupt ending, as Alex frees Gordon from their wrecked train with the gravity gun. In this game, our two heroes are trying to reach White Forest Base, located in the Outlands north of City 17, to deliver the data packet that they retrieved from the Combine Citadel. While looking for a new path, a portal storm occurs, which destroys a nearby bridge, creating an opening into an antlion-infested mine tunnel. At the end of the line, they find a communication building and update White Forest Base about their arrival. This is also where we meet Arne Magnusson, or Arnie Magnusson, who is basically just an irredeemable asshole that makes really good bombs. As our heroes resume their trek to White Forest, Alex is stabbed by a new threat, the Combine Hunter. Fortunately, she's stabilized by a passing Vortigaunt, but her critical condition means Gordon is going to need help fast. Making his way through the tunnels, smashing plenty of these weird little things along the way. Sustenance. Gordon eventually meets up with a small band from the Resistance, these two guys, at an underground base. The Vortigaunt says they'll need help from some of their buddies, and after Gordon is introduced to the red light green light game for insurgent alien bugs, a violent shootout ensues. Fortunately, under the expert leadership of Griggs and Sheckley, the bugs are squashed, or shredded, or disintegrated, and the Vortigaunt's fellow healers arrive. Realizing they were going to need some performance-enhancing drugs, Gordon and his new alien friend head deep into the antlion-infested mines to gather some larval extract. The two eventually make it to the Nectarium, which houses the larval extract, after Gordon's non-violent encounter with an antlion guardian. And after a brief elevator ride, Gordon and the Vortigaunt return to their party, and to Alex's aid, with the extract in hand. We get another G-Man encounter here, and I think this one is important enough to just play for you.
Dr. Freeman, I realize this moment may not be the most convenient for a heart-to-heart, but I had to wait until your friends were otherwise occupied. There was a time they cared nothing for Miss Vance, when their only experience of humanity was a crowbar coming at them down a steel corridor. When I plucked her from Black Mesa, I acted in the face of objections that she was a mere child and of no practical use to anyone. I have learned to ignore such naysayers when quelling them was out of the question. Still, I am not one to squander my investments, and I remain confident she was worth far more than the initial appraisal. That's why I must now extract from you some small repayment owed for your own survival. See her safely to White Forest, Dr. Freeman. I wish I could do more than keep an eye on you, but I have agreed to abide by certain restrictions. Well, now, listen carefully, my dear. When you see your Father, relay these words. Prepare for unforeseen consequences.
I know, right? Let's just say this scene is why you should play Half-Life Alyx. Or watch my playthrough. Hey, look, right there, it's a link. Oh, and there's also a link in the doobly-doo. Would you look at that? Anyway, with Alyx feeling better than ever, and our Vortigaunts ecstatic in their post-Vortal bliss, our protagonists return to their mission. Exiting the cave system, we see combined forces traveling directly toward White Forest, making it even more urgent for Gordon and Alyx to reach the Resistance base and deliver the data they stole way back in the first chapter of Episode 1. Gordon has to make his way through the zombie-infested Victory Mine settlement, with Alyx on sniper duty, and literally move an entire bridge to grab some wheels. Seriously though, even by today's standards, this game's physics engine is incredible. Returning with his sick new ride, Gordon picks up Alyx and the two head north. On the way, Alyx discovers a radio tower which she intends to use to warn White Forest of the approaching Combine forces, but our protagonists are ambushed by hunters, the same kind of synth soldiers that nearly took Alyx's life. They dispatch the hunters after some significant effort, but discover their transmission is being blocked by an advisor, so they hop in the car and continue booking it. After finding a crashed advisor pod nearby, the two discover a Combine advisor in the flesh, holed up in a barn. The two decide to destroy the being's life support system, but it unleashes a psychic attack on the group. And just as it's about to deprive Gordon of his precious, multi-dimensional life force, it's forced to flee the scene, leaving Gordon and Alyx behind to deal with a raid by Combine forces and a determined hunter chopper, which chases the good guys all the way to the next base. Here, Gordon uses his practice with the gravity gun to throw the chopper's mines back at it, destroying the threat, and giving the Resistance members some time to breathe. While Gordon takes care of the nearby autogun, Alyx and the Resistance techs fix up the car. They also install a handy little radar that can be used to find geocaches, which honestly just feels like a leftover mechanic cut from Half-Life 2 that the developers threw in because... reasons? Anyway, Gordon and Alyx continue their journey, hitting a few massive Combine-sized speed bumps at White Forest Inn before they reach the outskirts of White Forest Base and witness the rebels taking down a dropship. In a brief moment of mortal panic for our protagonists, its cargo, a Combine Strider, awakens, with our heroes in its sights. But never fear, Dog is here to save the day. In the chapter Our Mutual Friend, Freeman and Vance make it to temporary safety within White Forest Base, and this is where we get all the Half-Life 3 bait that everyone is still so mad about. Upon arrival, we learn that the rebels plan to use a new rocket, Alyx's data packet, and the satellite launched by Gordon in the first Half-Life installment to close the super portal and trap the remaining Combine here on Earth without aid from their homeworld. Gordon stops a brief Combine attack on the base with some well-placed bullets and a couple reinforced silo doors, returning to find that the group has decoded part of the data packet. Specifically, a message from Dr. Judith Mossman, the scientist who betrayed the Resistance and then the Combine for some reason in Half-Life 2. Mossman appears to be on the Borealis, a fabled research vessel produced by Aperture Science, which is said to hold some powerful new tech. After some debate over whether to find the Borealis and use its secrets against the Combine, or to destroy it outright, preventing another Black Mesa incident, it's decided that Gordon and Alyx will seek out Mossman and make a decision once they have more info. Alyx, briefly seeming to enter a trance, delivers the G-Man's message to Eli.
Prepare for unforeseen consequences.
What did you say?
Dad!
And he reveals those are the very words the G-Man spoke to him before the incident. I like that at least one of the scientists from the Anomalous Materials facility shows some remorse over what they did that day. Just as they're about to have a deeper conversation about the G-Man and his newfound influence over Alyx, the Combine attack the base again. This time with waves of Striders and Hunters, which Gordon mows down using the fancy new Magnuson devices. With the Combine assault laid to rest, the Resistance launches their rocket, and our heroes head outside to watch the sparks fly. Taken aside, Eli promises Gordon to one day elaborate his thoughts on the G-Man's message, for now saying that he thinks they should destroy the Borealis and...
I couldn't be prouder if you were my own son. Now, when you get back, we've got a lot to talk about.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Okay. Well, Alex reveals she found a helicopter and the team gets ready to depart for the Borealis. Of course, because this is a Half-Life game, Gordon and Alex are suddenly pinned to the wall of the hangar by a Combine advisor, and Eli is, well...
I love you, guy. Close your eyes, honey.
I love you, Dad!
Don't look.
No! Oh my God, no! No!
Not only is this emotionally devastating for our heroes, it also means that the Combine are now presumably aware of the Resistance's plan to find the Borealis, having had access to Eli's brain. At the last moment, Dog arrives to save the day, as much as it could be saved, and the game closes on Alex's tearful cries for her father's life.
Dad! Dad, please! Dad! Oh my God! No! No! Oh my God! Dad! No! Don't leave me!
Go ahead and skip to this time mark to skip any Half-Life Alyx spoilers. The end of episode 2 infuriated the player base. Such a cliffhanger, so much tension with no release for years, and Valve sat silent. When the game was released, there was supposed to be a sequel, episode 3, right around the corner, but shortly after launch, Valve stated the game was delayed indefinitely. They would have to rethink their strategy regarding the episodic adventures they had wanted to create, considering the massive crunch this entry had put the team through. And rethink they did, until 2019 with the announcement of Half-Life Alyx. Though a VR exclusive may not have been the best PR move, Valve is a studio that cares more for pushing boundaries than appeasing their fans or making shameless money grabs. Most of the time. Okay, not that time. Just roll with me here. So Half-Life Alyx launches, billed as a fucking prequel. Not only are we getting a VR-only game, but we're not even picking up where we left off? I was confused too. Until I actually played the game, and that's why I had to make this video, because the end of Half-Life Alyx, well, it changes things. You can watch my Let's Play for the full outro sequence. It's genuinely astounding, but for now, you just need to know the G-Man grabbed Alyx from 5 years before Half-Life 2, and time-warped her to the present, allowing her to save Eli. Turns out, Eli was wrong about the unforeseen consequences.
Expand on.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm loving this series, so please leave a comment to let me know what game I should cover like this next. I have plans for a few, but I don't want to make any promises just yet. If you haven't checked out what really happened in Half-Life or Half-Life 2, maybe go do that, and leave a like on those videos if you've watched them already. It would help me out. You can also check out my Half-Life Alyx playthrough, which was just so fun. Oh my god, I'm ready for more HLVR. Oh, and I've started streaming occasionally. Right now I'm playing some vanilla Minecraft, and if you subscribe, you won't miss a single stream. Anyways, that's enough for this one. I hope you are taking care of yourself in the best way you can. Until next time, I love you. Bye.